Fragile Inheritance is working to launch its online database. Presently holding over 155,000 natural history records, the database's user interface is being designed and coded for public access and use. This portion of the project we're fundraising for now is to make this more publicly available so people can go in and look at it themselves. So we're working at having Blue Ankara put it up online in a way that people can access the data. I started out taking notes when I was a kid. At university, I was introduced to the Grinnell method, which was Joseph Grinnell's idea that in addition to collecting specimens, museum collectors should write down accounts of the species' activity and behavior and a narrative of where they'd been and how good the food was in the restaurants they'd visited so that other investigators could know where to stop, and also the catalog of what they'd collected. The practice for this was to sit down in a habitat you were familiar with and write an account of that for somebody for whom English was a second language 100 years in the future. In 1985, we started to use computer records, but there was just text records for our field notes. And then in 1990, with the Bruce Peninsula study, we switched to a database, DBase 3 Plus, based on the Ontario Herpetophile Summary data structure, but we increased the fields and changed the fields so that we could put any kind of data in, and now we have 155,288 records in our biographical database of just our observations. There's other tables that have other people's data in it. When we started the Eastern Ontario Biodiversity Museum, we thought that, this is back in 1997, we thought we were inventing what iNaturalist has become as a universal language for natural history notes. iNaturalist will take, for example, a record of any kind of organism, but we also have data sheet and visit records, so we can write a narrative. We call it the pointillist portrait of Canada, that we have these little individual dots of records. We try to structure them so that they make a whole picture of the landscapes that we visit. And our main output is the narrative of, I was here, saw this, and then went so many kilometers or so many meters, and then saw this. We don't know of any other database that tries to be biographical and to contain all the data that an individual or organization collects. There's constant updating, with the generic names of so many species have changed, even if the species, the limitation hasn't changed. So we've got dozens and dozens of names that we have to change. We have both our data and Francis Cook's data, which were all written out on paper, so there's a lot of transcribing to do, to try to attract students to work on long-term redoing and enhancing and studying and analyzing long-term trends in the herpetofauna in this part of Grenville County. There is the possibility, if we get funding and there's a call for it, to export this as an application or program that other people can run. The way other people have used the data in the past is they say, black terns are a species at risk, where have you seen black terns? And so I set the filter to names.english equals black tern, because I don't remember how to spell Chileanisis, and make a list of them and send them the records, and that's all the places we've seen black terns. The other thing that we're going to try to do is to export big blocks of records to things like the Invasive Species Center and the various taxon-specific databases. I constantly get requests. As I say, send about one email a day with data from the database. So there's, even without it being particularly advertised, there's a lot of interest in the kind of stuff we've recorded. If you're a natural historian, you're trying to preserve the history of the natural world, and it's the Grinnell. I mean, Grinnell was my academic ancestor. It's this business of gathering data so that hypotheses about ecological change can be studied in the future, and to all the things we focus on are the things. I mean, besides the things that are just cute, are things that we think would change in the future. With support, this will be a really valuable resource for biologists and students and the public, and we're also looking to incorporate other people's data.